I still remember the exact moment my marriage died. It wasn't when I found lipstick on his collar. It wasn't when I discovered the secret credit card. It was when my husband looked me in the eyes over our anniversary dinner and said, "You're just not on my level anymore, Claire." The restaurant was expensive. One of those places where they don't list prices on the menu, because if you have to ask, you don't belong there. Marcus had chosen it. Of course, he always chose everything. The candlelight flickered between us, casting shadows across his perfectly structured face, and I watched his lips move as he delivered the words that would change everything. "I've outgrown you," he continued, cutting into his steak with surgical precision. "When we met, we were both struggling. But I evolved. I built an empire. And you're still the same small-town girl who thinks Olive Garden is fine dining." I sat there, my fork frozen halfway to my mouth, wearing the dress he'd bought me because mine were embarrassing. My hands trembled slightly, but I didn't cry. Not yet. I just stared at this man I'd loved for 12 years and realized I was looking at a stranger. Let me take you back to the beginning, so you understand how far we'd come and how far we were about to fall 12 years ago. I met Marcus Chen at a community college library. I was 23, working 2 jobs while studying business administration at night. He was 25, ambitious, and broke, wearing the same hoodie 3 days in a row because it was all he had. We bonded over shared ramen in the parking lot and dreams that felt too big for our empty wallets. "I'm going to own a tech company one day," he told me on our 3rd date, his eyes burning with certainty. "And when I do, we're going to have everything, the house, the cars, the life I promise you." Claire, I believed him. More importantly, I believed in him. We got married in a small ceremony at my parents' backyard. My mother made the cake. His best friend played guitar. We couldn't afford a honeymoon, so we spent the weekend at a bed and breakfast 2 towns over, and it was perfect. We were happy with nothing, because we had each other. I worked full-time as an administrative assistant, while Marcus built his startup from our 1-bedroom apartment. For 5 years, I was the sole breadwinner. I paid the rent, bought the groceries, covered the utilities. I came home exhausted every night to find him still coding, surrounded by energy drink cans and pizza boxes. "Just a little longer, babe," he'd say, barely looking up from his screen. We're so close to the breakthrough. I never complained. I packed his lunches, proofread his business proposals, listened to his pitches at 2 a.m. when he couldn't sleep. I believed in his vision because I loved him. And love meant sacrifice. When Marcus's company finally got its first major investor, I cried tears of joy. We celebrated with champagne that cost more than our monthly grocery budget. And he spun me around our tiny kitchen like we were in a movie. "We did it. Claire," he whispered against my hair. "We actually did it." Notice he said we. I remember that clearly. The money came slowly at first. Then, all at once, within 3 years, Marcus's tech startup was valued at $40 million. We moved from our apartment to a townhouse, then from the townhouse to a mansion in the hills with 6 bedrooms and a view that looked like a painting. I watched Marcus transform. The hoodies became tailored suits. The beat-up Honda became a Tesla, then a Porsche. The humble boy who ate ramen became a man who complained when his steak wasn't cooked to exact specifications. "You need to look the part," he told me one evening, eyeing my department store dress with obvious distaste. "I'm bringing clients home now. Investors, you represent me." So I upgraded. He hired a personal shopper who filled my closet with designer labels I couldn't pronounce. He booked me appointments at expensive salons where they made my brown hair blonder, my skin more golden, my appearance more polished. Tried to fit into his new world. I attended charity galas where women discussed their vacation homes and compared their children's private schools. I smiled through business dinners where I was introduced as Marcus's wife, and then promptly ignored. I learned which fork to use and how to make meaningless small talk about art. I didn't understand, but I never felt like I belonged. And Marcus was starting to notice. "Did you really just say nice to meet you to the mayor?" He hissed in the car after one event. "I introduced you to him last month at the Johnsons' party. Don't you pay attention?" "I'm sorry," I said quietly. "I meet so many people at these things. Try harder." "Claire, Jesus." You're making me look bad. The criticism became more frequent. My laugh was too loud. My opinions were too simple. My interests were too pedestrian. I didn't read the right books, watch the right films, or understand the right cultural references. I started to shrink. Literally, I began skipping meals because the women in his circle were all a size 0. I stopped talking at parties because I was afraid of saying the wrong thing. I felt myself disappearing, piece by piece, trying to become whoever Marcus wanted me to be, and still, it wasn't enough. I want a divorce, Marcus said 3 days after our anniversary disaster. We were in his home office, which used to be our office until he kicked me out to make room for his awards and framed magazine covers. I'd been standing in the doorway, trying to talk to him about couples counseling. He didn't even look up from his laptop. Excuse me? My voice sounded strange to my own ears, high and fragile. You heard me? I've already spoken to my lawyer. You'll be taken care of. Don't worry. But I need someone who can match my ambition. Someone who challenges me intellectually. You're comfortable, and I've moved past comfortable. Something cold settled in my chest. Someone? You mean you already have someone else? Now he looked up, and I saw no guilt in his eyes, just irritation that I was wasting his time. Her name is Victoria. She's a venture capitalist. We met at the conference in Singapore. She's brilliant. Claire, she actually understands what I do. We can talk about blockchain and market, trends, and she contributes. She doesn't just smile and nod. Like you do, I felt like I'd been slapped. I smile and nod because you made me feel stupid. Every time I tried to contribute. Because you are stupid about these things, he said. So casually, it took my breath away. You never evolved past your small-town mentality. I need a partner who can stand beside me at my level, not someone I have to constantly explain things to. At my level, those words again, I supported you, I whispered, my voice breaking. For 5 years. I was the only one working. I believed in you when no one else did. I sacrificed. And I'm grateful, he interrupted, finally closing his laptop. That's why you'll get a fair settlement? $2 million. The townhouse we kept as investment property. That's more than generous, considering you didn't contribute to the company's success. I laughed, actually laughed. It sounded manic even to me. I didn't contribute. Marcus, I was your first investor. I fed you, I housed you, I proofread every proposal, attended every pitch meeting in the early days, made calls to potential clients when you were too scared I was your partner. You were supportive, he corrected. There's a difference. Look, Claire, you're a nice person. You'll make someone very happy someday. Someone ordinary. But I'm not ordinary anymore. And I need someone extraordinary. He stood up, straightening his tie. My lawyer will be in touch. Please be out of the house by the end of the month. I'm moving Victoria in. Then he walked out of the room, leaving me standing there, my entire life crumbling around my feet. I won't lie and say I handled it gracefully. I spent the first week in bed, crying until my eyes were swollen and my throat was raw. My best friend Sarah came over and found me in the same pajamas I'd been wearing for 4 days, surrounded by tissues and empty ice cream containers. Okay, no, she said. Throwing open the curtains, sunlight stabbed my eyes. You're not doing this, get up. Sarah, I can't breathe. He threw away 12 years like they meant nothing. I know, honey, I know. She sat on the bed, pulling me into her arms. And he's a bastard for it, but you're not going to let him destroy you. You're not. He said I wasn't on his level. I sobbed into her shoulder. He said I never evolved. Sarah pulled back, gripping my shoulders firmly. Listen to me, Marcus is a selfish, egotistical ass who forgot where he came from. But you know what? He did you a favor? How? I choked out. Because now you're free. Free from a man who didn't appreciate you. Free from pretending to be someone you're not. Free to remember who you actually are. She wiped my tears with her thumbs. You're Claire fucking Morrison. You're smart, you're capable, and you don't need his validation. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to shower. We're going to eat real food. And then we're going to find you a lawyer who will make sure you get everything you deserve. Something in her words pierced through my despair. A tiny spark of anger. Hot and bright. You're right, I whispered. You're absolutely right. Marcus's lawyer offered $2 million and the townhouse. My lawyer, a shark of a woman named Patricia Wong, laughed in his face. Your client built his entire company while married to my client, Patricia said during our first mediation session. California is a community property state. Mrs. Chen is entitled to 50% of all assets acquired during the marriage. Marcus's face went purple. She didn't do anything. I built the company. With her financial support, Patricia countered smoothly. For 5 years, Mrs. Chen was the sole income earner while your client developed his business. She fed him, housed him, and provided the stable foundation necessary for his success. Additionally, she attended business functions, entertained clients, and maintained the household, allowing your client to focus entirely on his work. That's called partnership. And in the state of California, partnership means equal division. I sat there, watching Marcus realize that dismissing me was going to cost him $20 million. His lawyer finally said, and she signs an NDA about the affair. $40 million and no NDA. Patricia replied without missing a beat. Your client is worth over $80 million on paper. We're being more than reasonable. The mediation lasted 6 hours. Marcus tried everything. Crying, begging, threatening, claiming the company would go under if he had to liquidate assets. I said nothing. I just sat there, watching this man I'd loved reveal himself completely. Finally, his lawyer whispered something urgent in his ear. Marcus's shoulders slumped. He spat. $35 million. Final offer. Patricia looked at me. I thought about 12 years. I thought about becoming smaller and smaller to fit his expanding ego. I thought about not being on his level. Take it. I said. The money hit my account on a Tuesday, $35 million. I stared at my phone screen, at the number that didn't seem real, and felt nothing. Not joy, not relief, just emptiness. I was 35 years old, wealthy beyond my wildest dreams, and I had no idea who I was anymore. Sarah took me to lunch at a cute cafe. My choice. Not some pretentious place with tiny portions and incomprehensible menus. Okay, she said, stealing a fry from my plate. What now? You could travel, buy a house, start a business. The world is literally your oyster. I don't want an oyster, I said, pushing food around my plate. I don't know what I want, then maybe that's where you start finding out. I looked up at her. What do you mean? Claire, for 12 years you've been Marcus's wife. Before that, you were the dutiful daughter, the good student, the responsible one. When's the last time you did something just because you wanted to? Not because someone expected it or needed it from you? I opened my mouth to answer and realized I couldn't. I had no idea. Exactly, Sarah said gently. So take some time. Figure out who Claire is when she's not trying to fit into someone else's life. I started small. I bought a canvas and paints, even though I hadn't drawn anything since high school. I went to the movie, in theater alone, to see a Marvel film. Marcus would have called mindless. Drivel, I ate at Olive Garden. Yes, the place Marcus mocked, and enjoyed every single breadstick. It felt like coming up for air after drowning. Then one day, I was scrolling through my phone and saw a post from my old college. They were looking for donors to fund a scholarship program for low-income business students like Marcus, and I had been. Something clicked. I called the development office the next day. I want to fund a full scholarship program for students who work full-time while going to school, cover tuition, books, living expenses, everything. The woman on the phone was speechless for a moment. That's incredibly generous. May I ask what amount you're thinking? $5 million to start, more if needed. Mrs. Chen, this will change lives, dozens of lives. Ms. Morrison, I corrected gently. I went back to my maiden name, and I know that's the point. Setting up the scholarship program awakened something in me for the first time in years. I felt purpose. I wasn't just Marcus's wife, or a prop in someone else's story. I was making a real difference. But I wasn't done. I hired a team. Not a personal shopper or image consultant, but people who could help me build something meaningful. A business manager, a financial advisor, a lawyer who specialized in venture capital. I want to invest in startups, I told them in our first meeting. But not the typical ones I want to fund entrepreneurs from. Working class backgrounds. People who have the drive and the vision but not the connections. Or the pedigree people like my ex-husband was. Before he forgot where he came from, my business manager, a sharp woman named Keisha, smiled. You want to be the investor who sees potential instead of polish. Exactly. We called it the Morrison Foundation within 6 months. I'd invested in 8 companies. A food delivery service run by a single mother in Detroit. A sustainable fashion line started by a first-generation immigrant. A mental health app developed by a community college dropout who'd survived homelessness. Didn't just throw money at them. I mentored them, I attended their pitches, I gave feedback. I connected them with resources, I treated them like partners. Not projects, and slowly, I started to heal. I ran into Marcus about a year after the divorce. I was coming out of a coffee shop in my jeans and favorite sweater, comfortable clothes I'd chosen because I liked them. Not because they cost a fortune. When I saw him getting out of his Porsche Victoria was with him. She was beautiful in that severe, polished way, perfect posture, designer everything, the kind of woman who looked like she'd never sweated in her life. Marcus saw me and froze. For a second. Something flickered across his face, regret? Nostalgia? I didn't care enough to decipher it, Claire, he said, his voice uncertain. Hi, Marcus Victoria. I nodded politely. Victoria looked me up and down. Clearly unimpressed by my casual attire, Marcus seemed uncomfortable. You look different, he said. I look happy. I corrected an awkward pause. Victoria checked her phone impatiently. I heard about your foundation. Marcus continued. It's getting a lot of press. That scholarship program it's good, really good. Thank you. And the investments, you backed that sustainable fashion company, right? Fiber Future? They just got huge funding. I know, I'm very proud of them. He shifted his weight, and I realized something shocking. Marcus was nervous, intimidated even. Maybe we could have coffee sometime, he said suddenly. Catch up. I'd love to hear about what you're doing, maybe even discuss some potential collaborations. The Morrison Foundation could... No. Thank you, I interrupted gently. I'm not interested in collaborating with you. Marcus, his face flushed. Claire, come on, we were married for 12 years. We can be civil professional. We can be civil, I agreed. But I have no desire to be professional partners with you. I'm building something that matters to me, with my values at the center. And honestly, our values don't align anymore if they ever did. Victoria tugged on his arm. Marcus, we're late, but he wasn't ready to let it go. You've changed, he said, and there was accusation in his tone. Yes? I said simply, I evolved. I watched him process that. The word he'd thrown at me coming back to hit him. His jaw tightened. You're being petty, he said quietly. I'm being honest. There's a difference. I adjusted my bag on my shoulder. I hope you're happy, Marcus. I really do. But I've moved on to a life that fulfills me in ways your level never could. I walked away without looking back. My hands weren't shaking. My heart wasn't racing. I felt calm. Centered, whole 2 blocks away, I realized I was smiling. Let me tell you about Emma. She was 19, working as a night janitor at a hospital while taking community college classes during the day. She'd submitted a business proposal to 10 different investors and been rejected by every single one too young. They said, too risky, no track record. Her idea was brilliant. An app that connected college students with affordable mental health resources, using AI to match them with the right type of support. She'd developed it because her younger brother had taken his own life after struggling to find help during his freshman year when she pitched to the Morrison Foundation. Her voice shook, and her PowerPoint had typos, but her passion was undeniable. Her vision was clear. She reminded me of someone, me, 12 years ago, believing in someone else's dream. How much do you need? I asked after her presentation. The proposal outlines $250,000 for the first year. You need more than that. How much do you actually need to build this right? Not the bare minimum. What would make this succeed? Emma stared at me, tears suddenly welling in her eyes. $500,000 would let me hire proper developers, run clinical trials, and launch in 20 universities by next fall. Done, and I'm going to connect you with 3 universities that have agreed to pilot programs for Morrison Foundation. Investments, she burst into. Tears right there in my office. Ms. Morrison, I don't know what to say. Thank you. Thank you so much. Don't thank me. Just build something amazing. And when you make it big, remember to reach back and pull someone else up. That's what success meant to me now. Not penthouses and Porsches, not being able to name drop at parties. Real, tangible impact on people's lives. 2 years after the divorce, I bought a house, not a mansion, a beautiful, cozy craftsman in a friendly neighborhood with good schools and community gardens. It had 4 bedrooms, which was more than I needed. But I liked the idea of having space for guests, for family, for the life I was building. I adopted a dog from the shelter, a mutt named Biscuit, who had one ear that flopped funny. I planted tomatoes in my backyard. I took a pottery class at the community center and made lopsided bowls that I used anyway. I dated a little. But I wasn't in a rush. I was learning to enjoy my own company, to fill my own cup before offering it to someone else. Sarah came over one evening with wine and takeout. We sat on my back porch, watching Biscuit chase butterflies, and she raised her glass to Claire Morrison. She said, "Who finally figured out her level? And what level is that?" I asked, smiling. "Your own, the best level there is." We clinked glasses as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Here's the thing about Marcus's level that he never understood. It wasn't about money or status or designer labels. It was about character, about gratitude, about remembering where you came from and staying. Humble Marcus climbed and climbed until he forgot to look down. He reached for the top and lost his foundation. He gained the whole world and lost himself in the process. Meanwhile, I learned that true success isn't measured in dollars or prestige. It's measured in the lives you touch, the goodness you spread, the person you see in the mirror. The Morrison Foundation funded 42 companies. In its first 3 years, 12 of them became multi-million-dollar successes. But the ones I'm most proud of are the ones that employed people in struggling communities, or donated profits to charity, or built something that made the world a little bit better. Emma's mental health app, MindBridge, launched in 75 universities and helped over 10,000 students in its first year. She credited it with saving lives. That's my level. I heard through the grapevine that Marcus and Victoria broke up. Apparently, she left him for another tech entrepreneur, someone younger and richer. The irony wasn't lost on me, but I didn't gloat. I felt nothing. Actually, he was a chapter in my life that had closed. One of the scholarship recipients from my program reached out to me last month. His name was James, and he'd graduated with honors, despite working 40 hours a week to support his family. He'd just accepted a job at a Fortune 500 company, Ms. Morrison. He wrote in his email, "I will never be able to thank you enough for believing in me. You gave me a chance when the world said I wasn't good enough. I promised to pay it forward," and cried when I read that. Happy tears. Tears of purpose and meaning and a life well lived. This is what being on my level looks like, and let me tell you, the view from here is absolutely beautiful. If you're reading this and you've ever been told you're not good enough, not smart enough, not worthy enough, I want you to know something. They're wrong. The person who makes you feel small isn't superior to you. They're just insecure. Real success isn't about being better than others. It's about being better than you used to be. It's about growth, compassion, and making a difference in whatever way you can. Marcus thought he had to leave me behind to reach his potential. What he didn't realize is that by losing his humanity in the pursuit of status, he never reached any potential at all. He just reached altitude. And altitude without substance is just empty air. I don't live in Marcus's luxury world anymore. I live in something far more valuable. A world of purpose, authenticity, and genuine connection. A world where I'm not performing for anyone, not shrinking for anyone, not apologizing for being myself. Live beyond his luxury world because I live in truth, and truth is the only level that matters. My name is Claire Morrison. I am 37 years old. I eat at Olive Garden when I I wear jeans most days. I have paint under my fingernails and dog hair on my couch. I invest in people, not just profits. I sleep soundly at night knowing I've made the world a little bit better. And if that's not Marcus's level, I'm grateful I evolved beyond it. The end. Sometimes the trash takes itself out. And sometimes, being left behind is the greatest gift you never knew you needed.